Hi there, and thank you for checking out this video. In today's edition of the How To series, we're going to be talking about how to relax and relieve stress. So stress is something that we all feel from time to time. No one is exempt from it. And, sometimes dealing with stress is not as straightforward as some people like to believe. So we're going to just be trying to think of ways to talk about it in English. And, maybe some of these ways are obvious to you, but the main objective is just to try and be able to talk about them in English. So we've split the lesson objectives into three main points, which is focusing on health, methods for reducing stress, and using communication. So without much further ado, let's go ahead and look at some of the health slides. So the first one we're going to look at is sleep. So this may seem obvious. You probably already know that getting enough sleep will help you to reduce stress. Not as easy as it sounds. For some people, when you're feeling stressed out, you can't get to sleep. You sit there for sometimes hours in your bed thinking about your problem over and over again. And, some people don't get that, but a lot of people definitely do. Now, the problem is, by not being able to sleep, you can't reduce the stress. So it's a vicious cycle. So what is a vicious cycle? A vicious cycle is when you have some kind of issue or problem and you do something to try and fight that issue. So, for example, if someone is having a lot of stress at work, they might try and drink alcohol or smoke cigarettes to try and fight their stress. Now, temporarily, that might help you. It might help you for a little bit of time, but long term, becoming dependent on those things, it's going to cause you more stress, it's going to affect your health, and it's going to cost you money as well, which also, of course, affects stress. So, having this vicious cycle really does make us get out of whack sometimes. What does out of whack mean? Well, the simple way to explain it is that it means out of order. So let's think of a vending machine, for example. You put your money into the machine, but the snack or the drink or the coffee or whatever you ordered or try to doesn't come out of the machine. So in that case, it's out of order. So out of whack is just a slightly more casual way to say out of order. So yeah, in terms of this vicious cycle and feeling out of whack, how can we fight it? So, of course, doctors will recommend that you try and get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. But that too kind of becomes a vicious cycle because, for some people, they have to work so much that they don't have time to sleep. They work overtime, they have to come home, they have to make their dinner, and by the time they can get to sleep, it can be in the early hours of the morning. And, maybe they have to wake up by 6 or 7 a.m., maybe 5 a.m. even. And in that case, achieving the 7 or 8 hours of sleep is pretty difficult. So what I'd recommend trying to do is to have a power nap. So maybe you're wondering, what's the difference between a nap and a power nap? So a nap can just be any time we're tired and we just try to get a little bit of extra sleep, right? But a power nap is when we're doing so with the intention of getting more energy, with the intention of fitting it into a busy schedule. So having this power nap will definitely try to get you a little bit more energy. You just sleep for an hour and that hour can really help. So once again, you're thinking, maybe I don't have time for a nap. So what you want to try and do is fit it into your schedule, fit it in between other things or with other things. So, for example, when you are on your commute, which means when you are traveling to work, that would be a good time. You can maybe get an hour's sleep on the train. Maybe you're thinking to yourself, well, I'm worried that I'm going to miss my stop if I sleep on the train. So yeah, that's a bit of an issue, but there are ways to fight that. A lot of smartphones these days, or pretty much every smartphone has some kind of alarm system. So maybe, put your headphones in and set the alarm to when your stop is supposed to happen or just before it. And that way, maybe you can fight the issue of having to, catch your stop and not still be asleep. Maybe you can also try and have this power nap during your lunch break. Try to eat lunch quickly, or just eat something not too heavy for lunch, and maybe get 30 or 40 minutes of sleep. Try to find somewhere quiet in your office. Another thing we can do to try and sleep better is force ourselves to go to sleep. Once again, not easy, but one thing you can do is turn the TV off earlier. A lot of people try to fall asleep to watching TV. For some people that works. For me, it just makes me want to keep watching the show. I have just become wrapped up in the storyline, and I just want to know what happens next. So I think to myself, I'll just watch one more episode. But in turn, that affects my sleep. So, turn the TV off earlier and try to dim the lights. So what does dim the lights mean? It means to make the lighting of a room have a little bit of light, but not completely dark, but make sure that the lights in the room aren't so bright, because if they are, your body's going to kind of think that it's still daytime. So by dimming the lights, it kind of tells your body, hey, it's time to go to sleep soon. And, it can kind of help you to feel drowsy. So what does drowsy mean? Drowsiness is that feeling of, when we definitely feel tired and we just want to lie down and doze off. But, sometimes creating that feeling of drowsiness doesn't come naturally during the weekdays, because we just want to have more time to ourselves. We just want to have some time to enjoy some TV or something, or some video games before we go to sleep. But, if we turn off the TV or we turn off the video game console a little bit earlier, maybe an hour before when you want to go to sleep, that might be something that can kind of help you to achieve the drowsiness feeling. Another thing that can help is reading. Reading can definitely make you feel drowsy. Whether you like reading or not, it definitely relaxes us. So if you want to go to bed at 11 p.m., for example, maybe turn off the TVs and everything at 10 p.m., dim the lighting in the room, and you'll have this ambience where you feel like you're more relaxed. And another good thing about reading, of course, is that it can help you to improve your vocabulary. So it's going to help your English too. So yeah, that's definitely something that I'd recommend doing. That's pretty much it for the sleep slide. Maybe the most important one, so we spent a good bit of time on this one. But we're going to go ahead and move on to the exercise slide now. So just with sleep, maybe you think you don't have time to exercise, but as you know, exercise is really important. And the reason why exercise is so important in modern life is because thousands of years ago, we lived in a very different world, and humans had to fight animals. They had to run from animals sometimes, like a big scary bear. And obviously that's not the case now. But when humans used to have to do that, they would use their fight or flight system, which is when we use adrenaline, pretty much. The adrenaline is a chemical in our body which allows us to kind of decide what to do, to run or to fight. But, since we're not fighting big bears or other animals these days, we don't have this natural use of our adrenaline. So what we can do is use exercise to kind of naturally use our adrenaline and, kind of this way reduce stress. So another good thing is that, stress can help us actually perform better in the gym. We can kind of feel more motivated. If we feel pretty happy and carefree, we're probably not going to work out so hard in the gym. We're probably going to just think, I can go soon, I've done enough for today. But when we have this adrenaline and frustration in our body, we can kind of go harder in the gym, and we can become more efficient in the gym. So this way we can turn the negative into the positive, pretty much. So that's something that we can definitely use. And to do so, I recommend going to the gym at the end of the day, because that's when our stress levels are going to reach their peak. So go to the gym and use the adrenaline, use the frustration. And another good thing about physical exercise is that it's going to make our bodies tired. So if you're like me, then you probably sit in front of a computer all day And even though that can be tiring for our minds, it's not so tiring for our body really, because we're just sitting there. So, by exercising at the end of the day, maybe straight after work, we're going to more naturally make our body feel tired, and that's going to help us sleep. So we can combine exercise and sleep to fight the stress. But yeah, physical exercise, we use it as like a surrogate for the fight or flight system that we talked about earlier. Maybe you're wondering what a surrogate means. So the easiest way to define it is it's like a substitute. So maybe you're familiar with like a surrogate mother, which is when a woman kind of has a baby for a couple that can't have one for whatever reason. So she acts as a substitute. So that's just what we want to do. We want to use exercise as a surrogate for the fight or flight system. But yeah, there's a bunch of different benefits from exercising that come with that also. So that's the exercise slide, also very, very important, and one that will help us to achieve the previous slide's mission, I guess you could say. But yeah, next we're going to go ahead and have a look at eating right. So once again, maybe this seems pretty obvious to you. Of course, eating a healthy diet is very important. But once again, it's difficult because when we feel stressed or overwhelmed, we feel like we don't have time to do anything. We have to do things quickly. So a lot of people, including myself sometimes, instead of cooking a healthy meal, we will order a pizza or we'll just have some snacks or something. And, we'll kind of use unhealthy food as a pick-me-up, much like how people will use alcohol or, smoking as a temporary, release from the stress. But just like with those things, using pick-me-ups might make us feel better in the short term, but long term it's just going to cause us more and more problems. So how can we avoid this? So of course you want to avoid sugary snacks, but you want to plan ahead to do that. So some people, what they will do is they will cook all of their meals for the week during the weekend, maybe on the Sunday. And that's useful for many different reasons. But the two main ones are, number one, that it's going to give us more time during the weekdays. It's going to give us more time to read or have a hobby or do something that's going to help us feel content and ready to sleep at the end of the day. So that's the first thing. The second thing is it's going to make sure that we are having a healthy and balanced diet. Sometimes when you're just so focused on work, it's harder to make sure that you're getting all of the different nutrients that you need. So, just try to plan ahead this way. And, maybe you're thinking, well, if I do all of the cooking in one go, that's going to be pretty crazy. That's going to be a big task for me. But try to think of it as if, it's not a task. Try to think of it as a hobby. Hobbies are very important for reducing stress and making us feel happy. And we'll talk about that more a little bit later. But, if you think of it as a hobby, it's not going to feel like a task as much. And it's also going to give us a new interest. It's going to maybe give us something to talk to other people about, which, again, can improve our happiness. So, yeah, think of it as a hobby, and that way you will kill two birds with one stone. So, kill two birds with one stone. Maybe you've heard that before, maybe not. It's quite a popular idiom. But basically it means we achieve two things with one action. So if I throw a stone at two birds and somehow hit both of them, it's one action, but two things accomplished. It's a bit of a graphic image there, but that's the best way to remember it, I suppose. But yeah, by, having cooking as a hobby, you're, allowing yourself to have a hobby, but also allowing yourself to eat better, eat good, live good.